From the 1980s and beyond, the decay of all tiers of education in Nigeria was monumental. Facilities had almost collapsed. Teachers and lecturers' morale was at its lowest. An enabling environment for teaching and learning was absent. Mindful of the reality of the situation, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund was established to arrest the rot. The Executive Secretary of Tetfund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, has left no one in doubt of his ambition to sustain the pace of the agency's infrastructure projects. He has also spearheaded the added dimension of a paradigm shift towards the institutionalization of research and development, which includes the development of the content component of tertiary institutions and capacity development for academics.
When we talk about the content component, you know what, for a long time, from ETF to Tetfund now, we have been referenced more in terms of provision of physical infrastructure. Yes, people are clapping wherever, well, we know it, but the content, and for instance, if we talk about the content from my perspective at Tetfund, for universities, polytechnic, college of education, one of the first areas of this thing is academic staff training and development. And that is significant because we needed a crop of faculty members that have the capacity to train others. And that is a content component. Capacity building in so many ways, but first acquisition of higher degrees, as well as continuous training, including what we are doing now, improving capacity for grant writing skills. These are all content components, but the other ones is what? Publishing of manuscripts. From conversion of PhD thesis to the larger one, which is manuscript development by lecturers.
Since 2011, Tetfund has faithfully provided interventions that have resulted in the exponential growth in Nigeria's universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. In this edition of The Paradigm Shift, we examine the impact of Tetfund's interventions at the FCT College of Education, Zuba, Abuja. Dr. Gambo Hamza is the provost of the FCT College of Education, Zuba. He gives us a brief history of the institution.
The FCT College of Education was established in 1997 during the military administration, and then the then Minister of FCT, Lieutenant General Jeremiah Oseni, was pronounced the establishment of the institution. It was Teachers College Zuba before it was converted to College of Education. And also it was established for the purpose of training a middleman manpower training in terms of teaching and learning. But by year 2000, it was shut down because of certain reasons by the National Commission for Colleges of Education. And also in the year 2001, the college was reopened with a full pause of all the staff in the college. And also it was converted to conventional College of Education, whereby all the courses related to science and humanities were introduced. So since 2001 to date, the college was functioning according to the guidelines and the rules and regulations of the supervisory agency.
At the college, Tetfund has lived up to its main objective of using funding alongside project management for the rehabilitation, restoration, and consolidation of tertiary education in Nigeria. Several challenges faced by the institution have been jointly identified and solutions provided.
When you call Tetfund in terms of tertiary institutions in Nigeria, Tetfund becomes a father and a mother to all tertiary institutions in Nigeria, especially in the area of infrastructure, training and retraining, staff development, human capacity building, and many more. So, but particularly in FCT College of Education, Tetfund has tremendously assisted and intervened, especially in the area of infrastructure, staff training, and the human capital development generally
The primary role of Tetfund is to provide funding for educational facilities and infrastructural development.
In 2010, we suspend everything on the mini campus. We then moved to permanent site. Then at that time, we started by building ECCE. At that time, we started receiving some special intervention. You know, now in the intervention, we have some special intervention, normal intervention, then even the high impact. In 2010, after the ECCE, then we construct 2011 PHE, the Department of Physical and Health Education. Then in 2012, micro teaching lab. That one is a special intervention, presidential special intervention, micro teaching lab. 2014, we have School of Languages that we see it over there from the normal intervention. And then from special intervention, we have 1,000 capacity multi-purpose hall down there. And we have the other one there, an auditorium from 2014 special intervention. And we have School of Art and Social Sciences from the same 2014 special intervention. We have a substation that provide the light to the whole of this campus from 2014. As that 2014, actually, we are very lucky. We are very lucky to have that. But for 2015, 2016, we merged, and then we are building another academic staff offices. Is the one that is still under construction. You have seen it the other time. And in 2016 too, we have a high impact. That's when we constructed that giant School of Sciences. You see 3 blocks of that giant School of Sciences. So that one is high impact. We get an intervention of 1 billion naira to construct that one. So if you see all the buildings you are seeing, apart from maybe that 1, 2, and then the library itself, that 3. Apart from those, all the other buildings is from Tetfund.
When you look at all the structure that in the college now, the largest percentage was provided by the Tetfund.
Then generally speaking, the infrastructural facilities of this college has been a point that we need to appreciate Tetfund. When I came here in 2007, you see my students hanging on windows to take lectures. That's no more the story today. Today we have lecture halls, we have classrooms that our students can sit comfortably, and lecturers can also teach effectively.
Tetfund is one of the most important parastatal under Federal Ministry of Education, because the level of infrastructural development in tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Now, even if you get to an institution, even if you close your eyes, wallahi, you must know that Tetfund presence there, you cannot close your eyes of that. I've traveled a lot. The first thing I see, Tetfund. Let me tell you, some institutions would have closed down, but for Tetfund.
Tetfund promotes creative and innovative approach to educational learning and service, as well as stimulates, supports, and enhances improvement activities in the educational foundation areas like teacher education, teaching practice, library development, and special education. to champion new literacy-enhancing programs. But how has Tetfund fared at the FCT College of Education, Zuba?
I was given funds to pursue my master's degree in the United Kingdom.
I took part in IBR 3 times. The first one was a group work that was led by Adeoti Adewale. That was 2011, on using clay soil as alternative to landmark design. Then that was 2011. Then in 2017, I had a personal IBR intervention, which was on effects of print and media, print and audio on micro-teaching skills.
As a PhD student, I'm under the sponsorship of Tetfund. And I once had an opportunity of traveling to Ghana for an international conference, all sponsored by Tetfund.
Actually, I've benefited in 2 different phases. The first is conference attendance, and the second is for my master's training in the UK.
Okay, actually I benefited from conference sponsorship, and I was able to travel to South Africa for a conference on educational leadership, and it was a very rewarding experience. I rubbed shoulders with the leading thinkers in educational leadership today, not only in Africa, but I would say the leading thinkers, particularly those from the United States and the UK.
The Tetfund intervention we have benefited from since my office, my assumption to the office is TP programs, teaching practice for our 200 level students that are due to go and demonstrate what we have been teaching them in the classroom. So since I became the dean, we have benefited for 2 times. That's 2018-2019 academic session, 2019-2020.
I benefited 3. 1, scholarship for my PhD program. 2, IBR, institution-based research. 3, my thesis after my PhD. Tetfund requested for a copy of my PhD. Not only me anyway, all those that were sponsored by Tetfund.
Tetfund sponsored about 3 of us. 2 of us went to London. The training was on train the trainers on effective research management and skills writing, how to manage a research. That was what we went for in London.
Beyond sourcing funds and coordinating projects, Tetfund considers the relationship with public tertiary institutions to be of utmost importance if it is to identify the needs that will strengthen such institutions. The doors of Tetfund are always open for interaction and idea sharing.
I became sort of a liaison person, not only to my department, but the whole of my school. It's like they see someone representing them there. And so if they have challenges, first I encourage people to apply, because I always feel Tetfund is a God-sent kind of opportunity for academic staff in tertiary institutions. And we know today, we are hoping tomorrow and forever it will be there.
They have a system, they have guidelines that is working. Provided you follow the guidelines and you fulfill all the obligations, Tetfund is there to respond appropriately. So that's what I can say about Tetfund. Definitely, if you fulfill all the guidelines, at the same time they will respond positively to your need. So the relationship between the college and the Tetfund is a very, very cordial relationship.
Well, being the chairperson conferences and workshops, I am the one that screens persons who are going for international and local conferences and workshops. And I've had opportunities to interact personally with Tetfund officers, especially those concerned with conferences. We have had several interventions for individual lecturers who wants to go for conferences abroad or locally.
Some of the beneficiaries speak to the paradigm shift on how their knowledge has been elevated through Tetfund intervention.
Before I went for the training, let's take project supervision. I used to do paper to pen. The students would have to look for me, wait for me, even when I'm attending to other things. But after training in the UK and getting back, I saw the advantage in using online resources. So my students now send their work to me via email. I download it at my convenience. Even on a Sunday, in the middle of the night, whatever time is available for me and convenient, I do my correction and send back to the students. And I've also noticed that that too has helped the students to be more computer literate, because some of them would resist. No, we don't have email. And I'm like, go and open an email. Okay, I have an email, but it's not functioning. Go and get it working.
As a trainer, a language trainer, English language trainer, the MEd I got from University of Leeds, English, TESOL and ICT, had the process of learning there had actually developed a lot of new skills in me, especially as it concerns the use of ICT and researches and practicing. Instead of just teaching theory, you make classes more practical, so learning by doing. That knowledge trickled down here because as I came back, I started implementing part of the knowledge I've learned there, trying to put in skills, not just in my classes, but even within colleagues.
My PhD work was done through Tetfund intervention. As a widow, I wouldn't have done PhD. That is the truth about my life. Because my children, I suspended my educational pursuit in order to bring up my children and train them in school. But while they were still in universities, Tetfund gave me training intervention to do PhD. And I'm indeed very happy about it. And that is why you see my status changing to Dr. Mrs.
Whatever endeavors one may apply energy to in this life, the most effective way to measure the efficacy of one's effort is through its impact on the individual, the organization he or she belongs to, and the nation at large. The support of Tetfund, both in infrastructure and in the improvement of the quality of faculty at the tertiary level, is not just about investing in education for the sake of it, but also about positioning Nigeria as an economic powerhouse that generates its own intellectuals who can provide homegrown solutions to the nation's unique productivity challenges. The beneficiaries of Tetfund interventions at the FCT College of Education, Zuba, speak out.
No, it has widened my knowledge. And so, when I came back, I now got committed into different areas that I was not actually reaching before in my field, both in the classroom, and in the college general. For instance, it gave me experience enough on how to write projects, articles, and so on. That made me to be the LOC chairperson of the just concluded, we had a conference in a School of Education conference in March. I was the one that chairmaned the conference. So I had even carried out research that I got knowledge of. Outside this college, I've gone to Nasarawa to make research there and other areas. And my papers are also online in international journals. In fact, I didn't remember to bring where I was having intervention for children with special needs. And it's viral. I'm getting comments from all over.
We are now aware of the fact that you don't need to struggle to go to school because the funds are made available for you. There are so many advantages. You know, when you don't have the fund, you're discouraged. And when you get the funds, you're able to go get yourself new knowledge, international knowledge, local knowledge, and you're able to infuse it into the system.
I am working on collaborative writing, and the 21st century skills, one of the skills is collaboration. Looking at the four C's of the 21st century, where we have creative thinking, we have communication, we have collaboration. One of them is collaboration. And I'm looking at how we can make the classroom a communicative classroom. Looking at the background of various children who come from backgrounds, some have no education at all before coming to school, some have education from home, parents that are exposed to have the opportunity of sending their children to early education before coming to school. How we can merge them in class and get them to learn from one another.
One of the significant things that Tetfund had afforded me is that 5 years ago I was in US, Chicago in particular, for an international conference where we were exposed to modern trend of teaching and then how to get the students' attention to enhance effective teaching and learning. And then in my PhD thesis, I was surprised I was among the 2 privileged individual in this college to be selected, that our thesis was selected to be converted to textbook.
When it comes to offering grants to improve faculties of tertiary institutions, the FCT College of Education testifies that Tetfund's process is transparent. One needs only to make the application correctly.
Some of us are not too familiar with the guidelines. And so somebody would say, I have brought my admission letter, the committee has not recommended me, or it's turned down, or something. It comes back to us. And so I always handle that kind of situation with clarity. See, nobody look at your affairs. Tetfund is calling for people to apply. They are eager to receive your application, but it has to be properly done. Once it's properly done, you don't need to know anyone. You don't need to see anybody. It's as transparent as that.
Over 700 people have benefited in this college. Locally, more than 700 persons have benefited, locally and internationally. Internationally, we have close to 400 persons, and locally, over 300.
When those whose lives have been touched by Tetfund interventions speak, 2 things immediately become clear. First, that the agency has a sterling reputation for completing its projects. In the dictionary of Tetfund, the phrase abandoned projects does not exist. Second, Tetfund does not rest on its laurels.
Among the agencies that federal government of Nigeria established, without missing words, I can say Tetfund is the most impacted agency under the federal government that impacted positively and directly to the education and the human development in this country. Because it's the only agency that starts infrastructure. It won't start without completion. So when they start programs or they start infrastructure or whatever building they started, definitely they want to make sure that they have already reached a completion stage of it. So if you are talking about the impact, definitely it's something that I can say is uncountable.
The great physicist Albert Einstein once said, "Life is like riding a bike. If you want to maintain your balance, you must keep moving." To keep moving is to maintain and constantly upgrade the strategies that provide results. To keep moving is to continue to add value based on a simple principle: the constant commitment to improvement. And that is the paradigm shift.